First item under the old business is to, approve the, or accept the meeting, the minutes of the special meeting on March 22nd. Everybody has a copy of that, I think.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second by Mr. Stafford. Any discussion? You ready to vote? All voted?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the second reading on ordinance 12-0301, which is the annexation of the sewer, of the land that the sewer plant is on. You have a copy of that. I have a motion to approve ordinance concerning annexation on second reading.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All voting?
Aye.
Okay, we'll need to. You got the copy you want to sign, Joe, you want to sign this?
Both of them right?
Okay. But we can go ahead and do the other one. And then we can
All
sign.
right.
The next one, next item on the agenda is ordinance 12-0302, which is the gun range ordinance, the gun range in the city. Second reading for it also.
I'll give you a motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All voting?
Aye.
So, before we take the next, before we go to the next one, let's sign it.
It's just me and you guys.
Then you? Okay.
Well, let me get my pen.
Okay, then we're ready for new business. The first item on new business is Chamber of Commerce, Jimmy Whitaker.
Yeah, I'm here for Jimmy. I talked to this earlier. Just, our annual asking for the use of, for the Pope Saturday Festival of the streets. It's the famous, as always.
What is outside of the 12th of May?
It's for the 11th and 12th.
The 11th and 12th. And, you know, like it was last year, and this part is still just a little bit up in there. I won't be completely upfront with you. You know, we've had, so the last several years, we've had a carnival as part of the Pope Saturday Festival, which is started on Thursday. Our normal guy that does the carnival for us, when we called him up to finalize everything, he decided he's not gonna start his season until June. So as of today, we don't have a carnival for Ryder, but as soon as we can find one, we'd like to start that portion on Thursday night, just like we did last year, the 10th, yes. And the beauty pageant will be on the 10th, or with the high school,
But
which is a different
but the
thing.
streets would just be closed on the 11th and 12th.
11th and 12th, yes, sir.
It's the same.
Same as last year.
I give you a motion for.
Have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Gore and seconded by Mr. Stafford. Any discussion about that? Ready to vote? All voted? Motion carries. Next, next item on the agenda is a ordinance, which is, I wasn't really aware that we had to do that this way, but we will have to do it this way because we've been instructed to, and we will have to do this again when we, toward the end of the year. But this is an ordinance number, we'll sign an ordinance number, Jody,
Okay,
and it is an ordinance of the town of Gainesboro to amend the
the budget.
budget. The 2011, 2012 budget. But we're going to amend it when we did this budget. We did not have a line item for the drug fund. So we need to add an item for the drug fund. Now, this is the general drug fund, not the confidential drug fund. We have, we've got some money that we've been holding because we didn't have a place to put it when we sold the vehicles that were confiscated for drug concerns. But I like to put that, set that budget amount for $2,500. We'll add that to the
Mr. Fox, that'll be 1204.
120401,
And you said how much?
2,500. And then, that will, give us a place to put that money and then spend money out of that. So that's 120401. Ordinance to establish in the budget a line item for drug fund, or a category for drug fund.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 120401 on first reading.
Have a second, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All voted?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is Mr. Hall.
Mr. Fox, Alderman, what I was here to ask about was the old slide from the town park. It was taken down because it was too tall, and we would like to have it for our playground, Glen Lick. And we were interested in could we have it, or could we make some type of an arrangement for it?
Well, I think, one thing that I think we need to be sure that we address as far as that's concerned, it was, the reason it was taken down is because OSHA declared it unsafe, or the insurance company declared it unsafe. And, you know, I don't know what our liability would be if we gave that away, whether we would retain liability to that or not. What do you think?
As I've said many more times, anytime anything happens, they sue everybody inside. Now, whether we have any liability or not, I don't know why. Be liable, I don't, hard to see how we could be, but I'm not gonna say somebody would come up with a theory that would make us liable, but as long as we made a full disclosure of it, and they knew how tall it was, knew any defects was in it, all those things, that
Sell it as is.
tend to reduce their liability. You know, I could see a theory, and I think it's great to try to cooperate with communities and do what we can for them. But I could see a theory where you say, well, okay, this piece came loose under there, collapsed, caused a child to get hurt. Well, the city knew that when they let us have it, and they ought to told us about it, and they didn't. That to me is the concern I would have, something like that, as far as any liability we have. And I'm not real sure whether we would need to sell it, or whether we have to give it away, or give it away. I'm not sure about that aspect. You didn't ask me about it,
Yeah,
I'd be willing to buy it as is, just as a piece of junk. If that would relieve everybody's liability.
I think that would be better, you know, if you, of course, can we sell something like that without putting up a bid?
I'm wondering about that too. If we need to sell it as we sell, in the same manner that we sell other surplus property, I guess.
I'm not trying to be hard, Michael, I'm just trying to make sure we're all.
I understand, right?
I guess my concern would be that someone could say, well, you sold that to them and we didn't have a chance to bid on it. I don't know whether that would be an issue or not. I think that would put us on strong.
Yes, I think so, I think it,
Sell
as is,
but understanding why we took it down.
no warranties, yeah, taking that because it was too tall, and no warranties on it, the city makes no warranties whatsoever. You can't, I've said this before,
I'm sorry, I said we took it down because it was
Yeah, the insurance. I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think that our insurance company, they come periodically and look at things and point out liabilities and so forth. And they're the ones, I think,
Part of it's because part of it's metal, is that not right?
yeah, I think so. I think that's part of it too.
Get hurt on it or something.
Yeah, I think, one thing I think was, it's metal and sun shining on it could make that metal hot enough that conceivably somebody could get burned.
that, in our modern society, it is practically impossible to totally insulate yourself from any kind of lawsuit, no matter what you do. But within limits, if you sold it as is and maybe made a disclosure, maybe whatever, I don't know where OSHA gave us anything in writing on it or not, but maybe
I think we've got something.
maybe make that a part and parcel of the transfer and say, here, this is wrong, this is something that OSHA doesn't accept. Now, if you don't fix it, and somebody gets hurt, then you cannot come back and say, well, we didn't disclose it to you. But I understand where Mr. Hall's coming from completely. It's a shame to have it sitting there when kids could be using it.
Yes.
And I know that's where he's coming from. And I may be overly cautious, but I'm just saying that there's no way to totally insulate yourself from liability on anything you do. Before you walk across the street, you're liable to get sued.
Yes, sir, that's the truth.
Advertising for sale as is with what OSHA said about it.
They do it by
Sell it that way, that way.
Assumes responsibility.
Right.
Any and all responsibility.
maybe have a little
For its use.
document when you buy it, whoever buys it, have to sign a little document, I have been advised of this. I know this is, this and this and this is wrong.
Right.
I would suggest that the way we sell it probably would be to let people submit sealed bids, give us a deadline for when the bids would be, because I don't think it wouldn't be feasible to do it at a public office with just one item. At a public auction with just one item.
I'll make a motion that you make one that we advertise it for sale under sealed bid, disclosing the reason we took it down.
Now, a motion, Mr. Gore,
I'll say that.
seconded by Mr. Stafford.
I don't know where it needs to be part of your motion or not, but I think if whoever buys it probably would be a good idea to have them sign a receipt that they've been given that information.
discussion? Ready to vote? All voted? Okay, the next thing on the agenda is some probationary periods are over. Mr. Roten at the water plant, his probation is over on the 20th of April. And we never talked about this before. Since we're doing this for all the other people, we need to do it, I guess, for Mr. Leonard. His probation is over in October.
I'll give you a motion to hire Gary Roden. Second.
Motion to hire Jerry Roden, and second. Any discussion? All voted?
You doing both of them at one time?
Motion is
Motion was for Gary.
I thought,
You said,
yeah, but the motion was just
it's just
to
the
hire Mr. Roden.
okay. Where we at in the process then? If Roger made the motion to hire, right? He second, right?
y'all all voted aye.
Okay.
So now it's ready, we're not.
That's what I'm saying, it's rolled into, I didn't hear anything about it. I mean, I heard you say something about it, but I didn't know it's all,
It's, as I understood Mr. Gore's motion,
Gary Roden.
right, okay. I'll give you a motion to hire, finalize the hiring of Richard Larnard.
second. Well, we had this discussion before, where does this put us? You know, since we changed the, employees to at-will employees. We had that discussion before.
Well, I am not really familiar with their personnel policy to that extent, but I never understood why that we have to do it. I mean, if we've got a probationary period and you serve that and you're still working, it seems to me like that should automatically, without having vote, and not waste time to vote on that issue. If that's my, and I don't have anything in writing that would back that up, but it just seems to me like that if you've been on this probationary period for 90 days or whatever it is, and you've not done anything to get terminated at that point, it seems like it should be automatic, it saves time and trouble. Controversy seems like to me, that's just my off-the-cuff opinion, but
Well, and two, I guess it would figure into it that his probationary period was over in October. And here it is 6 months later. No action's been taken one way or the other.
Well, one thing you've also got to look at too, in that respect, in my opinion, we've been working in for that long. And apparently his probation period was over within 3 months, so what do you call it? I mean, you know. And there's nothing in the actual probationary period that says that we come back and hire somebody. Because I took this from, down Gainesboro, 411 probationary period, and Chapter 4 personnel policy, general information, Title 4 municipal personnel. We were going to remove this, you know. But this never did take place, what was going to happen here. It's 411 probationary period. There will be a 3-month probation period before becoming an employee, during which time there will be no medical insurance, no sick days, and no uniform. Either party may terminate the job without reason. Having passed the 3-month probation, the employee's date of hiring will be retroactive. To include the probationary period, there will be sick days credited, vacation eligibility will be retroactive, uniforms, if appropriate, will be issued. Medical insurance will begin. And the only thing I'm looking at here is there's nothing to say that even though we've done it in the past, I agree with that. You know, we torment just like we just did Gary Rhodes. There's nothing to say that we have to do that or that we're supposed to do that. So I'm kind of leery if he's not maintained as an employee, that we may just be setting ourselves up. I don't know.
Well, based on what you just read there, I mean, it seemed like that we're already bound by it. It would appear to me that way. We're already tied to it without doing anything. That's what I just said, that's kind of another version of what I just said a minute ago, that it seemed like within that 90-day probation period, if somebody's not performing or if they've done something wrong or something, then if they're not proving themselves worthy in that period of time to continue in the job they're in, seem like that would be the time to terminate. It seem like when the 90 days is up, based on what you just said, they would acquire all rights of a permanent employee at that point.
I mean, at one point in time, this was supposed to be last month. I was supposed to present an ordinance to completely remove that.
Mhm.
And just to work, I think we even talked about that once before, just to become an at-will, because all that probationary period was to give you at-will status. In other words, we could terminate at any time. We can do that now, regardless if it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 10 years, 20 years, or whatever.
Seem like it'd be more realistic to just say, okay, if you wanna have a period, I can understand this for insurance and certain benefits and things are concerned, you know, I could understand that having a certain period before those kick in, but, it's like I said the other night when we were down here, I don't see any difference in it really. We're at will, and as I understand it, if you're at will, you can fire me on the second day I work, first day I work, or if I've been there 10 years.
Right.
You know, long as I'm not a member of a protected class, then you get into other issues.
Right.
But I'm just taking the normal procedure.
I want to keep the part about the insurance, but I don't know what to call that. As far as, do you call it a null period, to where, not a probationary period, but like a waiting period, what would you call it?
Waiting period or something before the insurance kicks
Yeah.
in. Of course, both the gentlemen, I reckon, have satisfied those requirements for those things to kick in.
Yeah,
They both, they mentioned they both seem like they've been here over 90 days.
right.
I can understand why you would, you know, it could save a lot of problems by having that 90-day requirement. It's just bookkeeping problems, you know. You
Right.
get somebody enrolled in insurance, by the time you get them enrolled, they're out, you know.
We've had that happen.
Yeah. Of course, I realize that's the case, no matter what. But it's less likely when you've been 90 days that you're just gonna up and leave.
Right.
And I don't know that as far as, if since you adopted an at-will policy, I don't know that the 90 days gives you any more job security than you would have had as far as your termination rights and that concern.
Because the at-will, he read that a moment ago, it said either
Either party can,
can terminate or whatever,
But that's true with that will.
That's not, I mean, it doesn't have any bearing anymore since everybody's an at-will employee.
And I was even advised when we did the at-will ordinance, when I worked with them, they said, basically, I saw it, that's why. When you jumped, I saw the light. But, when I was working with them, Tass, on it, he actually advised me, he said, if I were you, I would take the probationary period out of there. And I explained to him, I said, well, the only reason we would leave it in there is because of the insurance, the uniforms, that part of it. Now, he never did come back and advise me, he said, well, you can do that, but like I said, it probably does need to be changed for, and I don't know exactly the wording, how you would call it, waiting period, a null period,
It would seem, and I'm not saying this, it would seem
trial period.
any action you might take here would be moot as to that, as far as that issue is concerned, because basically, there being no language that requires any kind of determination at the end of the 90 days, that anything, then basically it seems like it automatically kicks in under your ordinance there. And basically, I guess one best way to put it was that up till 90 days, you're an employee at will without benefits.
Right.
After 90 days, you're an employee at will with benefits.
Probably, it might be better to just say a non-benefit period.
Non-benefit, that might be the best language to use.
Of course, there's nothing we can do about that tonight.
But under that very language you're talking about there, it would just seem like it's already done. It would-
They already have it.
At 90 days, you would kick in under that language without anything being done. I think whoever made the phrase non-benefit period that probably is a good phrase you could use to describe it.
Well, we don't have a second on that. Seems to be the best understanding we have that, all employees are at will employees. Action can be taken at any time as far as they're concerned, so.
I'm gonna question then, why did we just sit here and vote on one?
Well, I don't know.
Why did we 2 weeks ago just vote on Joe?
I don't know, Roger, why we did. I don't think it was necessary to do it. I don't think there's any point. But it was you insisted that we did it.
No, I didn't insist nothing, I made a motion,
No,
you
no,
didn't call for a vote.
No, you insisted a long time ago that we had to do this, Roger.
That's what your book says. I'm not gonna sit here and argue, over it. That's fine, we'll do a little more checking on it though, but I think it's gonna be wrong.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Rick, you got anything you want to say?
Well, I don't know. Am I the chief of police or not? That's the monthly report for the month of March for the police department.
The only other thing I have, Mayor, is I presented the board back in September, I believe, maybe it was August, the policy manual for the police department. We've been operating without one for years, and presented one for review. What's the status?
Well, that hasn't been reviewed, but it's something that needs to be done because our insurance and everybody tells us that we need a policy manual to operate by. It's something that needs to be looked at and approved.
That's all I have.
Okay, Paul Junior?
Yeah, I'm just back to touch base with everybody about the fire truck. See if we can secure the loan.
Well,
Not real familiar with the automatic aid, don't know what kind of liability that may bring on when you enter into a contract. Where mutual aid's more of a, you know, I'll come pick you if you need help. Automatic's gonna be more of a got to come, got to train with, so I'm not real sure what liability that might bring. But I can tell you that in the last year, we had to cover their call because all their equipment was in Dawson's branch and they had a fire on 10 Stevens Lane, which is in our floating mile. We did have to cover for them, so it may get you out of the water with ISO, but it might not save your house if it's on fire. That's all I have to say about that part.
If we had let me ask you this, we have fire in Roddy Holler, one in Chiefstown, one on Old Field Drive, is everybody's house gonna be saved?
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
That's-
this.
I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not,
Yeah, oh yeah, that's just like we talked before,
Right.
you know, you wanna try to cover all the bases, and we wanna try to do the best we can, with least possible money to spend or work around. I agree with that 100%. I think every department ought to be able to stand on their own and assist all your neighboring departments. I do agree with that 100%.
and it's just something I feel like
Yeah, like,
we need to look
I mean,
at, you know.
we've been familiar with mutual aid around here for quite a while, but automatic, I didn't know anything about, so you probably did.
Well,
I
actually-
appreciate that. If
actually,
nothing
I was-
else, it may even help us improve our ISO rating later on down the road.
Right, but, and in fact, I was looking for the mutual aid part of it when I ran across it. And I thought, well, this is good because it does say ISO recognizes an automatic aid plan where it doesn't necessarily do the, like as you said, when we talked the other day, the mutual aid doesn't really, recognize. And that's the only reason I bring it up, you know. it's just-
That's a good point. That's all I had to say. I just wanted to get back.
Yeah.
Let y'all touch base with the mayor and, make a decision
Yeah.
of what we wanna try to do.
I'm trying to find some money, Paul. I don't know where we are right now with that. Was it $85,000?
Hose and everything was 82. I mean, I don't know if y'all have money in my budget. Jody's don't have it in the computer. Part of it could be in there to cover like the hose purchase. The truck was only 75, but with the hose and the nozzles was 82.
Well, of course, I don't know how long, though, that particular deal will be available. What, they were holding those for a certain period of time, is that correct? Or is that?
Those particular trucks, I mean, you don't ever know how long it's gonna be available. I mean, I can't ask him to hold it unless you can say we can have the money by this date.
Yeah,
And not to say that we couldn't find one $5,000 cheaper next time. I'm not gonna say that either.
well,
It makes me nervous not to have both our primary and secondary engines up and running. If something big was to happen, you need all you can have, even with mutual aid.
yeah, that's something that we certainly need to look at, and I have made some inquiries about some grant money. We may have to eventually go to a living source some kind to take care of that, but right tonight, I can't, I'm not on where I can say, you know, where that, the best place to get that funding from. One area that we might could get some assistance from is Upcoming Development District, but they're kind of in a turmoil right now, so they don't know what that situation is. And the other one is, Upcoming Human Resources is also.
This guy also offers financing, that's another option.
That, you know, that's something we probably need to look at too, to see.
I can,
Can you get
I can see if he can send me some forms.
and get a financing offer from him, arrangement to see, you know, what.
Yes, sir, I can see if he can send me paperwork up on a financing offer.
Can I interject something on that? Am I out of line for interjecting something?
No,
Okay. What we find out with law enforcement, and there's also a fund for fire departments, any departments that are actively associated with a general training facility that's specific to their department, there's a ton of federal grant money. We're talking like billions of dollars of federal grant money. If we can get together and work out some kind of horse trade, figure something out, we can always take a section of Black Dog Gun Range and turn it into a fire department training facility. We're already doing firemen's challenges, so we're already building the 68-foot tower for it. We're already in the process of all that. Maybe we can figure something out to where y'all can get your hands on some of that grant money to pay for the new truck. Of course, there's a portion of that goes to the range as well. That's why I'm all into it. But it might be of some help. I know when I originally looked into this back in February of last year, the allocation we could have gotten in had we had a fire department training facility up and running was somewhere in the neighborhood of about $360,000. Of course, the county couldn't turn 300 yards of road into a county road, even though it's a landlocked piece of property, which avoided the county from getting those funds. But now that we're putting our building here, we might be able to figure something out. So that might be of some assistance. Of course, there's some things I want out of it, which is I want the old fire truck. So I'm just saying. But something we might be able to figure out, even if they only allocated $20,000 per grant, then if you could figure out financing with the guy to let you pay it off over 4 years, or a bank to let you pay it off over 4 years, then you can take that grant money each year for 4 years. I make a nice tidy profit off of having that there. Y'all get some little grant money out of it, and everybody's happy. So, something to think about.
I will. Okay,
It's just a simple solution to any type of, like with the slide, I mean, the simple solution there is throw it away and let it get it out of the dumpster.
That's the problem.
There's no liability. Throw it away, it goes and takes it out of the dumpster. But it's the same with the fire department. There's a ton of federal grant money out there for law enforcement, for fire departments. The city qualifies for anywhere from $70,000 to $100,000 for law enforcement because of what we're doing in this area. You just have to support the range. And I think they require a minimum of 35% of that to go to the range. So really with us putting our training center here in Gainesboro, the city police department could get enough money to pay for 2 full-time police officers. And that grant money is readily available and you can have it within 90 days. So it's the same with the fire department. Really, it's the same with all your critical services. You know, trash pickup. Instead of ending that critical service, you could do a 1-month seminar where you invite smaller communities to come in with their trash service, and there's federal grant money there that's, you know, $50,000, $60,000 to support that service, if that's something y'all decide you want to reenact. And I know all about these federal grants because I got people researching them all the time because I'm not going to leave $1 sitting on the table if I can't have it. Now, 9 times out of 10, with the grants that we look at, it's a requirement that X percentage has to go to it. Like with the law enforcement thing, 35% of that grant money has to go to the maintenance, upkeep, you know, new additions, whatever, to the gun range. 18 to 20%, I can't remember exactly what it was, has to go to maintenance of the roads, the parking lot, all of that, but the rest of that money gets used for whatever. They can use it for training budget, they can use it for ammunition, they can use it for ammunition, new weapons, new tactics, schools, whatever. And it's the same with the fire department. So I don't know if they'll actually allow you to use that grant money specifically for a new truck. But if there's other areas of your budget that they do allow you to use that grant money for, then you shift the funds that were gonna be used on your budget in that, in your budget for your truck. Everybody's happy, and I get an old fire truck. And I'm willing to have my people start looking into all of that. What we'll have to do is you and I have to get together, there's a long list of forms we'd have to fill out. So I'll have my people look into what grant money is available for fire departments for the training fund. We'll have them download all the forms of, they've got other things on their plate with our SWAT challenge, machine gun shoots, and all that other kind of stuff coming up. But I'd say by about the 1st of June, you know, one of the people should have some stuff together, and you and I can get together and see if it pans out. I mean, y'all aren't gonna vote to do anything with the budget this month, right? At the earliest, it's gonna be May. We'll see what we can find out between now and May, and put together a business plan for that, you know, purchase plan, present it to the board. We all get what we want out of it. But if I do this, I want the old truck, not an open bid. Y'all are gonna throw it in the dumpster and I'm gonna drive it away.
Well, there's also a 10 to 22% indirect cost that whoever administrates that amount of money would get. So if the city wrote that, they could get 10 to 20% of whatever amount of money that is to maybe pay for Joanne's salary.
There you go.
Sure could.
It ain't Joanne paying.
Sorry.
The point is, there's a ton of money there. And what a lot of people don't recognize, especially when it comes to law enforcement, what a lot of people don't recognize is that while our federal government is cutting the spending of our military by $40 billion a year, they're increasing the federal law enforcement training funds by $38 billion a year. And all that money goes to the law enforcement. And the way the military is compensating for that is if a police department say they need new shotguns, or they need M16s, or they need an all-weather, all-terrain type vehicle, they applied for a lend lease from the military. The military gives it to them. They lend it to them for 30 days, and they lease it for 90 days. They lease it for 90 days, and in that time, they give it to them. Then the military is able to write that off their books and get reimbursed from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Fund 95% of the value of that vehicle at the time they purchased it that way. So they're doing this all over the place. And the federal funds are there for training just as much for fire departments as it is for law enforcement, as long as it's not a voluntary fire department. In order to qualify for those federal grants, you have to be an actual paid fire department. Y'all are paid, right?
All volunteer.
I'll look into it anyway. Well, no, we might find something. I've always looked into it because I've always dealt with, you know, City of Hendersonville or different, you know, city municipalities that it's a paid job. But if it's volunteer, I'll have my people ship it like volunteer stuff. But if we get it, I get the old truck. I want the truck. We're gonna take the truck out from machine gun shoot and blow it up.
That's a nice looking old truck.
That'd be good, I mean,
Yeah.
we'd be glad to have any information.
Probably gonna plan to get together next week.
Okay, we'll make a fire hall after meeting, we'll start on that.
One other thing that, I thought there were gonna be some people here tonight, I don't wanna see anybody here that concern, but we've had some concerns expressed over by Dairy Queen about traffic and speed and so forth. And we, dispatched an officer over there for considerable time over the weekend and didn't see anything. But I probably what we need to do is put a sign up over there saying, you know, dangerous traffic or neighborhood, or, you know, something to address that issue. Anything else the board has? Anybody, anything else?
Voting go home.
Have a motion to adjourn, the second. All voting,
Aye.